Domino's first pitch of the game to Denard Span, the center fielder. He's got great speed, hitting .287 with 4 home runs and 24 RBIs. 5 years in the minor leagues, and finally the first-round pick has an established job in the outfield for Minnesota. He can play all 3 outfield positions, but right now he's in center and playing ahead of Carlos Gomez. As Gomez was part of the Johan Santana deal, a lot of people felt he would be their center fielder of the future. So they've got a good problem, which is a surplus of outfielders. Here's a ground ball to Albert Pujols. Backhands and takes it himself. But how about the play last night of Pujols to take a hit away from Mauer? Outstanding play.
Yeah, he ranged to his right and kind of reached out, speared that ball, and it was a nice play as we've seen his play. Remember, he got off those quick 6 errors, but he hasn't made an error in quite a while.
92 degrees, our game time temperature. And I don't know if you feel this way. I think it feels better now than it did at the start of the game last night. I talked to Pat Paris about that. He felt the same way. Maybe we're crazy.
Maybe get a little breeze that goes through the open stadium here. And maybe you've gotten a little accustomed to it.
I think that's probably the right way to look at it.
Or you mentally accepted it.
Well, when you grow up here, it's just part of the way of living in St. Louis. That's it, out of play. No balls and 2 strikes. Brendan Harris breaking ball after breaking ball last night against Wainwright. The shortstop is hitting .286, 4 home runs, 16 RBIs, and he struck out in the first 3 at bats of the game for him last night. Minnesota got off to a terrible start on the road, but they've been better lately, as the Twins have gone 7-3 in their last 10 road games since June 9th, but overall they're 14-22.
I was just looking, they have a very, very good defense. They've only committed 27 errors on the year. The Cardinals 49, and they do it with pitching. They don't walk anybody, and they field their positions well.
I don't know if you agree with this or not, but thinking about it on the way home last night, Minnesota, to me, is a National League team. They play that National League style of baseball. And think about how different things went last night. Sacrifices twice by their pitcher, missed sacrifice by the Cardinals, cost them the game.
Took advantage of the walks in the first inning.
There's that breaking ball, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. But really, it's a carryover of Tom Kelly to Ron Gardner.
Well, and what I'm thinking of is, as long as they're playing in the Metrodome, they're playing on turf.
Yep.
So, you have to have speedier runners out there to track down the balls in the outfield.
Here's a high fly ball into center field. Colby Rasmus came in, now drifting back to make the catch. 2 outs. And with that speed, you're probably saying where most American League teams wait, sit back, and hit the home run. Speedy guys, smaller guys, small ball.
Right. And
so 2 outs and nobody on for Justin Morneau. 3 for 6 with a walk against Wellemeyer.
So no Mauer. Moreau moves up a notch.
What a weapon, though, off the bench that they will have later in this game.
And he's had some success against Wellemeyer, too.
.313, 16 home runs. He's driven in 58. And that pitch is taken inside. 2-time All-Star and the 06 MVP of the American League, and he was the runner-up a season ago.
Good thing he's such a good friend with Mauer, because he kind of gets slighted in this offense, and he shouldn't.
They say that Mauer gets a lot of the headlines, but really the team leader is this guy at the plate. Spring training, he's the first to arrive at the ballpark, the last one to leave. As he slices this one the opposite way, and it's a foul ball. Last year at Yankee Stadium, Morneau won the home run derby. Most people think it was Josh Hamilton after what he did in that one round, but
he won the fans.
He won the fans, but Morneau won the derby, and Morneau also helped the American League win the game as he scored the game-winning run in extra innings. And we'll see him in St. Louis in a couple of weeks, no doubt. He did have a tie to Minnesota. His dad, George, was a hockey player and invited to the Minnesota North Stars training camp one year and did not make the team. And he wears number 33 because he's from Canada, from British Columbia, and It's a number pretty famous of a goaltender that some believe is the all-time best in Patrick Waugh. They said that was his hero growing up, along with Larry Walker. 2-2 is the count on Morneau. Good pitch in on the hands.
Very good pitch. We just don't see that many good pitches from Wellemeyer against left-handers. And I think Welly has had a very good attitude. He knows where he's at. He knows he's on the bubble, but he's worked well last year with career high 13 victories with Dave Duncan, and they're working again this year.
A 2-2 pitch outside. Idolized Larry Walker, as I mentioned, but Jason Bay is from that area. Jeff Francis, Rich Harden now of the Cubs. And Morneau is locked up 6 years, $80 million by the Twins. Next up, Mauer. Can they keep him? A 3-2 pitch. And that's outside. That's how last night started, as Wainwright got a ground out, a strikeout, and then back-to-back walks of Mauer and Morneau. Kubel with the broken bat base hit, an error by Thurston. And the first inning, tough luck loss for Wainwright. Pretty much the story of the game.
Well, that's all they needed. Slowy on the mound. He's 10-2. Only the second 10-game winner in the American League. You don't want to let these Twins get out in front. You made that statement and stat last night.
They've now done it 11 times away from the Metrodome, 11 consecutive times where they've taken the lead in a game. And their team record is 12. And the last team to do it 11 times was back in 1964 for Minnesota. Kubel has dealt with a knee issue for the better part of his major league career. Tore up his knee in 05, tried to come back in 06, limited time. I found it interesting that Joe Mauer, who was his roommate in the minor leagues, and Mauer went from AA to the major leagues, but they were with each other for a couple of seasons, said he was one of the best hitters he's ever seen, and talking about Jason Kubel, who's at the plate. That's a strike.
Kubel hit for the cycle and became the third player in the last 100 years to cap a cycle with a grand slam.
Twins have done that twice this year, hit for the cycle.
Right.
See, with runners on, he's at 252, 377 with the bases empty.
Knier was the other.
The 1-2 pitch. This is where you have to bear down, get that third and final out, and get your team on offense. Easier said than done, though.
And one of these, at minimum, 20-pitch innings. Can't have too many of those in this heat.
Isn't it amazing? You look up in the fifth inning, a lot of times these guys are at 90, 95 pitches. And it's all of a sudden they're looking at the dugout thinking, well, I've done my job. And that's not the way it should be.
Tight strike zone here. Mike Everett back behind the plate, and this is another pitch that Wellemeyer, of course, he misses location. As you see, Yanni set up away, and it looked like it was strike on the inside, but by missing location, sometimes you set that tone for the umpire.
2 outs, runner at first, 3-2, so Morneau is off with this pitch.
Changeup.
Way outside. Going back to the pitch before, you might want to explain that, Al, because the pitch, looking at it, is a strike, but because Molina is set up outside and maybe has to reach for it a little bit, it doesn't look like a comfortable strike, if you will.
Very good point. And that's what I'm saying. When you're set, and when the catcher says, okay, I want the pitch outside, and you throw it on the inner part of the plate, that umpire naturally says, wait a minute, you missed location. Still may be a strike, but you don't always get it.
And it brings in Michael Kadire. Back-to-back walks after he got the first 2. This is the 16th start of the season for Todd Wellemeyer. 6'3", 230-pound right-hander. And the first pitch. That's a strike.
Dan, not only do you want to get your pitcher more efficient, throw fewer pitches, but you want to keep your offense. Those guys playing defense, where you want to get them on offense, get them off that field and out from underneath the hot sun.
I know it's a hot day. It's obvious. We've talked about it. Pre-game show talked about it. How tough, though, do you think it is for Ron Gardenhire to leave a guy like Mauer out of the lineup when he looks at the sheet and sees that Wellemeyer has given up a .349 average to lefties, and 10 home runs out of the 11 he's allowed have been to left-handed batters.
I think he feels pretty comfortable that he's going to have enough offense, and he's got his best pitcher going right now, that he's going to hold down the Cardinals offense. So, you know, Mauer may be that big bullet that you can pull later on as a pinch hitter.
1-1 pitch. A pickoff, and back to first is Kubel. Both these divisions, American League Central, National League Central, wide open, up for grabs.
I was just talking to some of the people with Minnesota, and they've seen the Cubs and Milwaukee. They just came from Milwaukee, and they were not overly impressed by either ball club.
How about Milton Bradley last night? It's in an argument with his manager. Manager says that's it. Head on home. He was dressed and out the door before the game was over.
Lou also said he'll be in the lineup today.
And I like what he said. He said, I don't sit there and dwell on this stuff. You know, there's arguments all the time. We're a family in here. I told him to go home. I'm not going to hold it against him tomorrow. Be tough to do with Milton Bradley, though. 3 years and $30 million in a questionable signing, to say the least. 3-1 the count here on Kadire. Creedy on deck. Three and 2.
Six pitches thrown here, 13 strikes, 13 balls.
Got off to the good start with a ground out, a fly out, back-to-back walks, and now a 3-2 pitch to Kadire. Runners go, and it's hit sharply to second. Schumacher is there. Cardinals out of a first inning jam. Coming up in their half of the first, Albert Pujols, no score. St. Louis in a hot afternoon, and one of the top pitchers in the American League this year will face this lineup: Schumacher, Rasmussen, Pujols, Duncan, Molina, and Keel, Green, Wellemeyer, and Thurston. Minnesota Twins second in the Central because of the starting pitching. Kevin Slowey 10-2, but he has given up an average of .302. Our Marshall Wireless starter.
Well, lefties have batted .348 against him. That's how the average has been inflated. But he doesn't walk many. Only 14, and 12 of those 14 have been to left-handed batters. He's a pitch maker, and you know, he just works on both sides of the plate. He changes speeds. There's not one pitch that you'll ever get excited about, but his ability to incorporate all of them and keep hitters off balance is what makes him successful.
Cardinals only scored 3 runs in their last 3 games. after averaging 8 runs in the previous 5. Line shot left center field. Extra bases here for Skip. He's digging for 2. Span over to get it. Schumacher in safely at second base. Who also made a fine play defensively.
Yeah, that ball was hit hard.
Sure was.
He had a runner running past him or screened him a bit.
Take a look at the Auto Tire defense for the Minnesota Twins. And the battery today is Slowey and Redmond. No Joe Mauer. Cardinals overall have dropped 4 of 5. And in those games hitting just .206 and 10 runs scored. So the offense has got to pick things up here. Winnable game yesterday. Carpenter's game certainly was winnable against Santana. And here's Rasmus, who's hitting .269, 7 home runs, 28 RBIs, and he leads in most offensive categories for rookies in the National League.
And 2 hits last night that ended an over 18 streak.
And a 1-0 pitch. Popped up, and it's playable. Foul territory. Redmond throws the mask and makes the catch. Shortstop Harris over to cover third as Creedy was coming in. Let's take a look at our Toyota keys to the game and career record by run support. 3+ runs. Kevin Slowey 26-0, under 3, 0-14. Pretty telling stats there.
Oh yes. And what have we been averaging in runs scored of late?
It's not good. I mean, it's been up and down, but the Cardinals,
about 2.
Yeah, 4 of 5 they lost. They've only scored 10 runs. And it brings in Albert Pujols. Wouldn't figure that Slowey would pitch to him here, would you?
There's no reason in my mind, but you know, Albert might have a little advantage because in spring training, he did a game with the Twins announcers, and Slowey struck out Albert twice on pitches up in the zone.
Now, if you're Slowey, do you say, okay, that's spring training, this is a different time of year?
Right. Well,
or do you do it again?
Made the comment at that time. I said, you know, he got away with it, but I don't think he could get away with those pitches in the middle of the season. So we might find out.
1 out, runner at second base, and here comes the 0-1 pitch to Pujols. As Pujols has lost the beard. Clean-shaven Albert for Christian Family Day. Post-game concert coming up. And a 1-1 pitch coming up to Pujols. Popped up right side. Get out of play. Morneau is over. Near the Cardinal dugout. Reaches in, but out of room.
As you can see, Slowey pitched him up in spring training, and there's 2 of the pitches, 2 of the 3 pitches, both strikes have been up in the zone. But in my mind, that's what separates Albert. So many low ball hitters in the game today. He's the absolute best at getting a high pitch and putting a level swing on it.
Well, they went after Pujols last night. He doubled in the first. Then he flied out to right, flied to left, and struck out against Joe Nathan as he represented the tying run. 1-2 is the count on the Cardinal slugger Albert Pujols. Here it comes. 2-2. The Twins issued no walks last night. That was the 8th time this season they've done that. That is so big.
Cardinals have done it 9 times.
Look how deep that Kubel is playing out there in the left field. Almost on the track. Big gap in the left center field. 2-2 pitch. But last night, that's what it's all about. To see Nathan, their best against your best, Albert Pujols. It was fun to see.
Sure was. And Nathan got the best of him.
But Pujols puts those at bats, you know, and talking with him in the back of his mind, like he has, I'm sure, with Slowey, and says, all right, I've faced this guy before. I've seen his motion. I know how he's gotten me out. I know I've gotten him. That's what the great players do. 3-2 pitch to Pujols. Is that the pitch right there?
No. I mean, you know, up
in more.
But see, that pitch was supposed to be away, and totally missed location. It was very effective inside with a full count. Be shocked. That's what he needs to work on, Dan. He needs to work on getting that average up with a full count.
I know you went home and dug through the stats and came up with that one.
I did.
Good
I
work.
found that.
That's good work by you, Al.
Thank you. You challenged me to find something.
And we have. 3-2 to Albert.
There's, see, another pitch up like that. He's going after it. Remember I said Slowy's only walked 14. But then it all takes off up there. He walked 14. Last year he had better than 5-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio.
7 pitches in this at bat seen by Pujols. Runner at second is Schumacher following his leadoff double. Albert out to deep left field. To the track, to the wall. Number 27 just over the wall. Into the bullpen. 2-0 Cardinals. I don't know how close Kubel was. It looked fairly close, but it got over the wall for number 27.
And it looked like another pitch up in the zone a little bit. Catcher set up away. It stays over the middle of the plate and up a little bit and just over the fence.
So home run number 27. 395 feet, the estimated distance of that home run. That's a foul ball off the bat of Duncan. The base of Albert Pujols, Al.
Put it up, right back down, no stride. So that's where it rarely gets fooled on breaking balls. Wasn't like that hit in the third deck, Albert.
So his 3.2 average is now on the way up.
Told him he had to work on it, and he did.
There you go. Ron Gardenhire, if they would lose this game 2-0, you have to kick yourself. Why you pitched Albert Pujols? As Duncan hits it to first. Morneau to Slowy for the out, and there's 2 away. And Ron is an emotional manager. He even talks about how his emotions not so much get the best of him. And Tony La Russa pretty stoic on the other side, but only Bobby Cox has been ejected more since 2000 than Ron Gardenhire. But he'll get after it with his players, and you'll see him get after it with the umpires in the game. But you don't mind to see that. But his players will say, yeah, he gets after us, but he's very fair too.
Yeah, and I think that's it. You know, you go down and you talk to him and be around him and everything, and he'll go out of his way to accommodate and do whatever, you know, just being social.
Strike on Molina. Joe Thurston trying to stay cool there on the left. Khalil Green on the right. And a strike to Molina. 0-2 with 2 outs and a 2-0 Cardinals lead. Glenn Perkins, the starter last night, winner. 7 innings, 1 run on 4 hits. He was terrific, but Slowy here in the first has given up a bomb to Pujols. Number 27, RBI 71 and 72. 2-0 after an inning. Sunday, July 12th. All proceeds from the event will go to Stand Up to Cancer, the Prostate Cancer Foundation, and Susan G. Komen for the cure. Visit allstargame.com to sign up. Michael Hall, the director of Cardinals Care, was on the pregame show, and he said that Ozzie Smith and Raleigh Fingers will be there at the end, handing out medals to those who participate in the run or the walk. And we're going to have a lot of Hall of Famers, Major League Hall of Famers in town for the signing that Dick Zitzman has put together. You see what Pujols has done this year. Very well could be on his way to the MVP again.
He's having a better season than his other 2 MVP seasons at this stage.
The signing for Dick Zitzman, you can find out more at Stan the Man Inc. is the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th. On the 11th, by the way, Sheryl Crow is performing. And then on the 12th, you've got the Run Futures game, Legends and Celebrity Softball game. The 13th is the workout here at Busch Stadium and the Home Run Derby. And the 14th, of course, is the All-Star game. Here's Joe Crede. Still lives in the state of Missouri. 1 ball, 1 strike. As you well know, Al, I do Missouri basketball and sitting side by side with Joe Crede many times. Good guy.
Good. You see him support the amateurs in the state.
Huge Missouri Tiger fan. Lives in Lynn, Missouri with his wife and 3 kids. He was called up back in 2001 by the White Sox and played at the old Busch Stadium. I know he was really looking forward to this series. Pop-up handled by Pujols.
Let's see how Wellemeyer fares after his teammates and Pujols give him a lead.
Interesting watching him come off the field after the top of the first. You see the Firestone leaderboard, but I don't know if he said something to the home plate umpire or to Molina, but it was definitely in that direction as he was walking off the field.
He kind of looked over at Albert and said, unbelievable.
Here is Mike Redmond, the catcher. The Cardinals apparently either have signed or will sign a 16-year-old out of the Dominican, Wagner Mateo.
Can't sign him until there's a ban until July 2nd.
Right.
So you can't sign any Latin players.
But have basically agreed to it.
Right. In principle. One time, everybody signed all the Puerto Rican players. But then the signing bonuses got so high, they started moving over to Venezuela and the Dominican, and they were not paying very much in bonus. That has changed if it's a $3.1 million signing bonus.
3-0 the count here on Mike Redmond, the 7th place hitter. Matt Tolbert, the second baseman, on deck. The Twins in interleague play, their pitchers are 0 for the year. So this is where you can try, Al, at least in your mind, to say, okay, bottom of the order, of course you bear down just like anybody else, but this is where I could have an efficient, quick inning.
You're supposed to.
3 walks issued by Wellemeyer, and he's even admitted that these starts are becoming more and more important for him to stay in the rotation. Cal Loge, a 3-inning simulated game yesterday, and he's just around the corner to joining this rotation again. Matt Tolbert hitting 179.
I don't think that Loge will join the rotation until after the All-Star break.
And the hope was to have him at least have 1 start before it.
But if you do the math, he's going to go on a rehab start on Thursday, and then 5 days later, I think it's an off day, and then you don't want to disrupt Wainwright. And then I think we're at the the Sunday, the final game of the All-Star break, so it might be beneficial to make 2 or 3 down there during the break.
1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, runner at first. Cardinals will finish up the first half of the regular season with a doubleheader in Chicago.
That may be
and that's the one I'm thinking of.
Get in that one.
Long look and a 1-1. Hit out of play and foul, lined into the seats. Not many places to hide here at Busch Stadium from the sunshine. Afternoon baseball out in the bleachers, down both the first and third base lines.
How about the Champions Club?
Champions Club or the all-inclusive area is the place to be, no doubt. It is hot. A 1-2 pitch to Tolbert. How about a double play ball? Hit out of play again.
Well, Tolbert batting 179 from the left side, 169, 200 from the right side. So that's what you're talking about. Redmond, who rarely gets to start now that Mauer is back. Then you got Tolbert, and then you got the pitcher spot. I mean, this just should be an easy inning.
Cardinals lead it 2-0. Pujols with a 2-run homer. From 1961 to 2001, 41 years of baseball for Minnesota. They had 10 managers and 5 appearances in postseason play. The job that Ron Gardenhire has done, he's been in postseason play in 4 appearances out of the time that he's been there, from 02 now through 09. Really done a nice job with what was last year the 7th lowest payroll in baseball, as they made it into postseason play, or at least a 1-game playoff against the White Sox, and then eventually lost.
Like I said, your pitchers don't walk anybody.
That's ripped into right field for a base hit. Over to get it, Ankiel. With a strong throw from left field in the ball game last night to catch Mauer at the plate. So walk, a base hit, and here's Slowey.
Yeah, they don't walk anybody. They play very tight defense, rely on their pitching. Pitch on the inner part of the plate inside, and Dave Duncan out to talk to Wellemeyer. Boy, the first hit allowed, but in 8 batters, there's 3 walks and a base hit.
Well, if you're traveling and can't catch the Cardinals TV broadcast, catch all the action on your computer at MLB.tv. Catch over 100 live out-of-market games per week. For complete details, visit STLCardinals.com, where baseball is always on. And you can vote for your favorite all-star player, favorite Cardinal player at STLCardinals.com up to 25 times through July 2nd. Runners at first and second now for Minnesota, and here is Slowey.
Obviously a bunt situation. Look at Albert, how far in he is already.
Stepping off, Todd Wellemeyer. Denard Span is on deck. Cardinals homestand will continue on Monday night against San Francisco. That is a half-price night here at Busch Stadium. First to 4 with the Giants. We'll see some good pitching there. And that pitch is a strike.
Almost be tempted, even though it's an obvious bunt situation with the defense the way it is, just to try to slap down on a ball and do the old butcher boy. These American League pitchers are really at a disadvantage. Slowey 0 for 2 this year, 2 for 10 in his career.
Outfield very, very shallow. Pujols, hands on his hips, playing in. Joe Thurston near the line and in about 5 steps on the grass. Let's see how the Cardinals play it here. Swinging away. Watch out. That's how you get somebody killed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. With the defense, the way they're charging and everybody moving around. But the one thing you need to do, if you're going to do that, you got to hit down on the ball. You don't want to line into a double play.
Now, Ron Gardenhire did this last night with his starter Glenn Perkins a couple times when he showed mutt and then was swinging away. And a strikeout first of the afternoon for Todd Wellemeyer. So first time through the lineup, 45 pitches for Wellemeyer. Tony La Russa, Dave Duncan. There's Ron Gardenhire, the manager of the Minnesota Twins, as they try to make it 2 wins in a row. So 2 outs, and here's Span. Speedster, and I mentioned the time that he spent in the minor leagues. Highly touted because of his speed. Expected to be in the big leagues very quickly. Didn't happen. Most of his time was spent at Rochester. Put up pretty good numbers there, and recently came off the DL and had a huge game 2 days ago against Milwaukee. First pitch taken outside. He grounded out sharply to Pujols first time up.
Inner ear infection, right?
That's right. And he asked not to go on a rehab assignment because he said he had spent way too much time in the minor leagues. But they got him a few at-bats down there, and he came up and produced. 2 balls and no strikes. Cardinals have out hit Minnesota 2-1. The only base hit by the 8th place hitter, Tolbert. On deck, Harris. Just joining us, Albert Pujols with a 2-run homer. Joe Mauer is not in the lineup. Scheduled day off for the Minnesota catcher. Falls behind here. 2 balls and no strikes. And that's to the backstop. Runners at second and third. There's your sacrifice, and a base hit could tie this game up. Remember, it was about a month ago on a Sunday afternoon. Wellemeyer pitched, and he absolutely beat up Yadier Molina. Not quite to that level today, but he has not been hitting his spots.
It's just a constant struggle. Now he has trouble with locating his changeup. His slider hasn't had the real bite on it. His fastball, he has no command. It's tough to pitch that way.
3-0. And that's a strike. 3-1. First time through the lineup, he only gave up 1 base hit, but he walked 3 and struck out 1, and again it took 45 pitches.
Got all your fielders back on their heels. I mean, just it's hot out there. Outfielders are just bored to death. Trying to stay in it, aren't they?
Here's a 3-1 pitch. And he walked him. 4 walks issued by Wellemeyer. Bases loaded. They had first and second back in the first inning. Couldn't cash in, and a hard hit ball. And now this is Harris. Now this is a big at bat right here.
Oh, you better
because you've got Morneau sitting on deck, and base hit, you've got a tie ball game.
You'd almost be tempted to bring in Mauer.
He's thinking the same thing, Al. I mean, as
okay,
crazy as that sounds.
Off. Yeah, your day off, but here, just take your 1 at bat right now.
And a check swing. Did not go. Ball 1. Falls behind again. So you have to wonder what's going through the mind of Wellemeyer, and the pressure starting to mount on him.
Just got to forget all about that. Just concentrate what's at hand.
Here is fly to center, first time up. And a fly ball. Will it get out of play? Pujols is over and runs out of room. Don't get hurt, Albert. He climbed up onto the tarp and then up to that 2-foot wall over there by the fans.
That's how much he wants to get off the field.
Remember Lyle Overbay, and you think about Bill Miller. He slid in at the Old Busch Stadium into the wall down to the third base line and tore up his knee.
They had padding there, but he got underneath it and ran his kneecap right into the wall.
And it didn't affect him at the plate, as he later would win a batting championship with the Red Sox. Here's a 1-1 pitch. And Bill Miller is now working in baseball.
Still with the Giants?
Either the Giants or the Dodgers. I couldn't remember if he was with Ned
You know
Colletti.
what? He may have gone with Colletti.
I think he did.
Because Colletti was with the Giants when he was playing, and then moved down to L.A. for the general manager's job.
2 balls and a strike. Little fly ball, left center field, and a diving attempt by Duncan. Couldn't come up with it. And Minnesota has the lead. Off his glove. 3-run score. And Harris makes it 3-2 Minnesota. Base hit, 3 RBIs. He now has 19 on the season. Let's go pitch by pitch.
Slider out there, ball 1. Then he fouls off the ball. Back inside with a slider missing. Then he jams in. Pretty good pitch right here. Now you can debate whether he got a good jump or not. But my point is those outfielders are back on their heels because of all the base on balls.
I'm not sure. I think he may have broken back on that, but point well taken, Al, no question. Now here's Morneau. Minnesota on top. 2 walks come around to score. A single and 3 RBIs. Don't see that very often.
Well, you said Spain had some speed. He just showed you.
Yep, he was flying from first base. Morneau takes a strike, 0-2. Morneau walked back in the first inning. He is 3 for 6 with 2 walks in his career against Todd Wellemeyer. 0-2 pitch to Justin Morneau. And a strikeout. Wellemeyer 2 in the inning, 2 in the game, though. Minnesota has a lead, 3-2. So Minnesota has a lead of 3-2. 2-out bases clearing single by Brendan Harris. And here's Rick Ankiel. Ankiel out to deep center field. Span going back in with room. Makes the catch. Cardinals have a 2-run homer by Albert Pujols to account for their 2 runs. Looks like Ankiel may be starting to turn the corner a little bit. He had a better game last night here against Minnesota.
A couple hits last night. He final at bat against Santana. He got the double. So we got to hope that starts showing some life.
There's Tyler Green at shortstop again here in game 2. Brendan Ryan has been dealing with a wrist injury since high school, and an issue has crept back up on him here this past week or so. So Tyler Green gets the start. Khalil Green again on the bench for the Cardinals this afternoon too.
Apparently Brendan can pitch run, but that's it. Got a cortisone shot in the wrist and some other general soreness he's dealing with.
Nobody's at the on-deck circle, but nobody warming up in the Cardinal bullpen. That's Wellemeyer's spot. Trying to cool off, I'm sure.
He's getting there.
1-1 pitch. And Green pops one foul and out of play.
Sure, he was a little tardy after getting a little more attention from Dave Duncan.
I mean, what do you say, though? I mean,
throw strikes.
Outside of that, you know, it's not like he's trying not to throw strikes. You know, he's competing. I mean, if you're the
at this
pitching
level,
coach, though, I mean, are you picking up something at this point that he's not doing mechanically? You're trying to worry about his mindset a little bit, too. And I understand what you're saying. I mean, that's the obvious, throw strikes, but Wellemeyer's trying to search for some answers as well, maybe trying to find it from Dave Duncan or from somebody else, one of the other pitchers, mechanically, as to why he can't throw strikes, as he has walked 4 today.
I've always felt, Dan, that if you don't throw strikes and there's nothing physically wrong with you, which there's not with him, it's lack of concentration. Now, mechanically, you can get out of whack, but, you know, we're halfway through the season. Can't figure it out, you don't belong here.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Wellemeyer. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here's a 1-1 pitch. It's slow. He's throwing strikes. He did have an undershirt on to start this game, and that is gone this hot afternoon. 1-2 pitch to Todd Wellemeyer. And a strikeout. 2 in the inning, 2 in the game. And after 2, Minnesota leads it by a run. The Giants, fans can purchase terrace and pavilion reserved seats for half price, and that means tickets as low as $8. Get your tickets today at stlcardinals.com. And all summer long here at the ballpark, kids can enjoy tickets for as low as $7.
Let's see if Wellemeyer can go out there and be a little more efficient. He's thrown 57 pitches for his first 2 innings.
Well, he better be, because if he's not, it's going to be a short afternoon for him. Only in the 3rd, and this is Pujols. And a swing and a miss. 2 strikeouts on the day for Todd Wellemeyer, both coming in the 2nd inning. He's walked 4, and a 2-out bases loaded single by Brendan Harris scored 3 runs. It's a good effort by Duncan to try to come up with a diving catch. Came up just a bit short. 3 runs came around to score. And the 1-1 pitch. 2 balls and a strike. Pujols, Kadire, and Creedy. We talked so much about the offense of Joe Mauer trying to hit 400 this year. He's not in the lineup today. He will be tomorrow. Going back to Ted Simmons, and Yadier Molina, those two own the top 5 offensive years by any catcher in Cardinals history. Simmons with 4 of the 5. The highest he ever hit, 333. Most RBIs, 95, and he had 26 home runs one year. There's a fly ball out to center.
You're saying Molina's in that top 5 with his 304 average? Really?
Yep. That's out to center, and Colby Rasmus, and there's a look at Mauer. Guy's an exceptional talent. Bert Blyleven, as we mentioned last night, should be in the Hall of Fame, and Simmons should be as well.
One of the biggest injustice by the writers is that Simmons never qualified for enough votes in the first ballot to stay on.
0-1 the count. Bert Blyleven, 287 wins. Into right center field. Rasmus on the move. He won't get it. One hops off the wall. Kadire on his way to second base. A 1-out double. And it brings in Joe Crady.
Fastball up, out over the plate. Gets it out there in right center.
So 1 out. Runner at second base.
Activity starts now in the bullpen. You would think it would be. It's Josh Kinney.
And that pitch is taken upstairs by Crady. Two back surgeries, pretty significant, and enough to say goodbye by the White Sox. In his career, he had 19 home runs against the Twins, and they picked him up. Only played in 144 games the last 2 years. He has a base salary of $2.5 million, could earn as much as $5 million this year.
Based on plate appearances, my thinking would be is you have Josh Kinney up to get through an inning, to finish off an inning, and then you would have Blake Hawksworth, has been really not a reliever. He was a starter in the minor leagues to start an inning and try to get you deep into this ball game.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out, runner at second base. Crady popped out to first time up. So there's Kenny getting loose, the right-hander for St. Louis. Crady is now 3 for 6 with a home run against Wellemeyer in his career. Reaches for it, base hit into right field. Kadire is going to be held up at third base, but Ankiel does not hit the cut. No one is covering home plate. Now they do. By missing the cut, Crady heads up play, advances. Takes second on the throw, so second and third with 1 out.
It's kind of like Rick in Colorado. He made those 2 great throws last year in Colorado. Throws out a runner to plate last night, and so now he wants to do it all the time, and that was not a good throw. Way too high, allowed the additional runner, Crady the batter, to go from first to second, get himself in scoring position.
Right at the last second. He knows who's throwing out there in right field, but as you mentioned, he misses the cut, puts another runner in scoring position, and the 7th place hitter here is Redmond, who walked and scored back in the second inning.
Yeah, it's just some of the fundamental, and Wellemeyer's through as Tony's making the walk out.
Pitch count at 68. You see the first inning 27, second with 30, 11 in this inning.
He hasn't made the call yet, but he may have just sent a message here, and now he has called the bullpen.
Or Chevy called to the bullpen. Wellemeyer is out of this game. Josh Kenny coming in, and it's up to the bullpen this afternoon. It's 3-2. Be his 7th appearance of the season. Trying to get that ERA lower. It's over 10. His opponents are hitting above 300 against him, and he'll come in with runners at second and third. And he inherits a mess here from Todd Wellemeyer, who last 2 1/3, walks 4, struck out 2, and he gave up 4 base hits.
Josh Kinney, this is his 4th appearance since returning to the big club on June 18th. Optioned out April the 17th. While the 21 games in Memphis, he was 1-1, ERA a little bit over 3, and more than strikeout per inning.
Hot afternoon, no doubt. Tony La Russa unhappy with what he saw from Wellemeyer, and I'm sure one of the things he's not happy with, his pace of pitching.
Pace of pitching, you know, you've got all your fielders back on the heels. They're out there in this hot day, and they're suffering out there in the field. You know, you want it all the more incentive just to be very efficient, quick, throw strikes, hit your spots, get your team on offense.
And that pitch is taken low and away. Of course, Kenny does have that swing and miss slider, and he needs it here.
But we've seen it be a lot flatter this year than it has been in the past. Of course, he missed 300 games with a Tommy John surgery and a lengthy recovery.
And that's taken just a little bit low. 2 balls and no strikes. The shortest outing of Wellemeyer's year is today. Prior to this, it was 4 1/3 at Pittsburgh. Here's a ground ball. Play at the plate. Schumacher to home, and he is out. Kadire bangs into Molina and out at the plate. Lost his helmet and hit the back of his head, it looked like.
Molina wasn't real happy with the way he came in, but I mean, that's just good, clean baseball.
The Cardinals appreciate Molina. They appreciate Schumacher, and now these fans have something to cheer about. That strong arm allowed Schumacher to come to the plate.
Off balance throw and showing the arm strength even more. I wasn't sure that, watch if Molina doesn't punch him in the chest after he comes in. And you see, runner takes the most of it, and then he kind of, that's just old-fashioned baseball. He hung out to dry there, but Molina had just enough time to get down, kind of prepare himself.
Exmo Cam presented by Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill. Here is Tolbert. Ground ball to second. Schumacher underhands. Nice work by Kenny as he comes in to strand 2. 3-2 Minnesota. visit Kia.com. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. And by the Casino Queen, home of the loosest slots. It's a hot afternoon, as you might imagine, here in St. Louis, and a guy to my right knows all about that. Back in the AstroTurf of the old field at Busch Stadium, that's former Cardinal manager Whitey Herzog. How you doing, Whitey?
I'm doing good, Danny. I tell you, I remember a game we played here on a Sunday afternoon. It was 139 on the field. I figured my starting pitcher would go 3 innings. Bob Sykes pitched, and he went 9 shutout innings.
Is that right?
1-0 in 10. I asked him after the game, weren't you hot? And he said, no. He said, I wasn't on the AstroTurf. He was on the mound.
Right.
But that surprised me.
How did you deal with it? How did you deal with the heat with some of your teams?
Well, it really wasn't that bad. You know, they went down the AstroTurf for the night games, and it was cool off, and that was to our advantage because we made it slick, and we had so much speed we could cover the gaps in the play and the balls that get by for the visiting team. So we kind of liked that. But on a Sunday afternoon, it was tough.
Absolutely.
Really, yeah.
This is Joe Thurston, 1 ball, 1 strike. Whitey Herzog is with us. And in September, and I want to talk a lot of baseball with you, but let's get some business out of the way first. September 13th and 14th, once again, you're raising a lot of money here in St. Louis.
Yeah, we got my golf tournament dinner at Forest Hills Country Club on Sunday the 13th. Of course, we have the dinner. The theme of the dinner is going to be the man in the pen, and Mr. Roboski hopefully will be able to attend that night. I'm bringing in Bruce Suter, Jeff Lottie, Tom Hankey, Todd Worrell, Ken Daly, John Costello, all the guys that live here and pitch for me. And I'm going to open it up and let the audience participate and see what some of the questions they might have. I might have a couple of questions myself for some of those guys because I've never known what the heck they talk about in the bullpen for 9 innings and why all of them got binoculars in their little bag.
I'm not sure we want to hear some of the answers.
No, I don't know what they're going to be.
Here is Skip Schumacher with 1 out. And how about a phone number, Whitey, or some way to get information?
Right. Anybody that's interested, we got the golf tournament on Monday morning, a morning flight and afternoon flight. Kathy Dampier is my executive director. You could call her at 314-504-7981 and let her know, and she'll get all the information to you.
Again, 314-504-7981. There's a base hit for Skip Schumacher. So how often are you down here at the ballpark, and how closely are you watching the Cardinals?
Well, I watch every game, and I watch you guys every night on TV when I'm not here. I think this is my 9th game, and I was here yesterday, and my old roommate, Russ Snyder, who lives up in Nelson, Nebraska, he came down this weekend. I was his roomie at Kansas City and Baltimore. Russ played 14 years in the big leagues, and we're very tight and so forth, and he brought his 2 granddaughters down. They're down in the hot seats. I'm up here talking to you. I feel a lot better about that.
It's a little cooler up here, is right. You can hang out with us all you want. Here's Colby Rasmus and diving back at first base, Skip Schumacher. On deck, Albert Pujols. Whitey, you've had a chance to see Albert from his youth to now. What is it about him that makes a great hitter, and where is he as far as some of the great hitters that you've seen?
Well, I think I was interviewed about a month ago, and I watched him play in high school. I watched him play in Legion ball, and I've seen him play the 9 years here. I'd have to say right now that Albert would be in the top 5 ball players all time.
Is that right?
Because he's so good defensively. I mean, you know, he's a Gold Glover at first base, but he doesn't have slumps. He's the best 2-strike hitter I've ever seen, and Cardi and Brett and Yogi were outstanding. But I'd have to put him in the top 5. I know Stan the Man and Babe Ruth #1, and you got DiMaggio and Williams, which you heard about, and all the good black players that started playing in the 50s, you know, Robinson, Frank, and Hank, and Willie Mays. But, boy, Albert's a ball player. And I never pitched him in the first inning, by the way.
We say that every night, as you well know. I wouldn't pitch to him in the 1st, the 5th, the 7th. No. That's well hit out to center field. Span is back to make the catch. Unfortunately for you, 85 was such a tough year with the Kansas City loss. You lost to the Twins in 87. I've always said it, if you win one of those, it's a no-brainer. You're in the Hall of Fame. How frustrating has that been, your plight to try to get into the Hall of Fame?
Well, we've had some unfortunate circumstances. You know, Bob Reagan told me I was going to go. Sparky was going in 75, Dick Williams 85. No, 95. Sparky was going in 96. Dick Williams goes in. I was supposed to go in 97, and we had some things happen, and then they changed the voting, and we had 6 years where it couldn't happen. And I've been close. I missed by 2 votes. I missed by 1. I'd love to get in. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over it because
there goes another one.
He hit another one.
Left field, gone. 2-run homer. for Albert Pujols, his second of the day, number 28. And the Cardinals go back on top. It's 4-3. Something else.
I mean, he's something. And I don't think I'm having him overrated when I say one of the top 5 best all-time ball players.
Nope, not at all, Whitey. Let's take a look at this swing, Whitey, and tell me what you see off the screen here. We're going to slow it down. This is the Exmo Cam brought to you by Hot Shots. Bam.
I can tell you exactly what I see. I've been watching it for 9 years. They try to pitch him inside strikes, and you can't get him out inside. And you can't get him out inside the 2 strikes because he has a knack, Danny, of hitting the ball fair down the left field line. He don't pull that ball foul. He's one of the few hitters I've ever seen can do that. And that ball was the fastball up, tried to get in his in tight on him, and you can't pitch him an inside strike. He's just unbelievable the way he can hit that ball.
Obviously, it looks like he's headed to the Hall of Fame with the kind of career that he's put in so far in his 9 years. There's no question about it.
I would say he's a shoo-in.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Whitey Herzog, the great Whitey Herzog, is with us. It's always so much fun to visit with you. And there's a shot on our screen here. He hit one up in Big Mac land. That's the other thing, is that he hits not only for power, but he hits for average too, Whitey, and he doesn't strike out.
Well, you know, Musial had a 335 or something like that lifetime average, and everybody thought he was a singles hitter. He had 475 home runs, led the league 7 times. But Stan used to only strike out 30 times a year. Albert strikes out about 40, you know, and hits with power, hits with average. He's just been an amazing ball player. I mean, it's just been amazing what he's done day in and day out.
There's a base hit out to left center field off the bat of Chris Duncan. Well, having watched this team, Whitey, and you've been a guy that's been a GM, you've obviously pulled off deals. What needs to happen with this team? How would you tweak it?
If they don't make a deal and they don't lose Carpenter or Molinas or Pujols, I still think they're going to win the division. I think their run scoring will get better. Ludwig's got to get going. Of course, one of the left-hand hitting outfielders, Ankiel or Duncan's got to start producing like they should produce. I know they keep talking about third base, and, you know, you can't have an all-star everywhere. And
right.
I think the Cardinals got enough of the best pitching staff in the National League.
Ball scoots away as they hesitated with Molina going to first. They'll hold up Duncan over at third base, and it's second and third with 2 outs. Well, Brendan Harris there thought he could get the force play at second. You see the hesitation. Then he realizes Molina's running and commits the error. But one guy that I want to bring up, Ozzie Smith. He didn't commit many errors when you were managing, and of course he makes it in the Hall of Fame. We'd love to see him around the ballpark a little bit more. I'm sure you'd like to see it too.
Well, yeah, and he's been here quite a few times the last while, and I'm glad to see him out here. He's taken a lot of participation in the All-Star thing, and I think he's going to manage it on Sunday afternoon against Joe in the Futures game, and it's nice to see Ozzie here. And you know, he was #1 till McGuire came along, and everybody was wearing the #1 uniforms, and then McGuire came along. It's 25. And now it's, you see, #5 pretty much.
Yes, you
know?
do.
So the Cardinal people like the people that are playing now.
Yep.
And it's the most amazing thing when I have an auction at my dinner. They want Cardinal stuff rather than Ken Griffey or anybody like that. Ryan Howard, they want Cardinal stuff. Yadi Molinas is just as popular as Ken Griffey or Ryan Howard. They want the current Cardinals.
Again, Whitey's dinner. Want to find out more about the dinner or play golf? 314-504-7981. 314-504-7981. The theme is the bullpen guys this year. Pitch is up and away to Ricky Ankiel. How about interleague play? Are you a fan of this?
I don't like it. First of all, I don't think you need it. Secondly, you got enough cities to go to. Thirdly, it's unfair.
Yes, it is.
And it's an unbalanced schedule, and it's just not fair. And baseball was always unprecedented because everybody played the same amount of games against the same amount of teams. And now you can play a weaker schedule or a tougher schedule and finish in a tie, and it's just not the right way to go about it.
What would you do if you were commissioner for a day? What would you do to change this game?
I'd make the rules all the same in both leagues.
So
that's the first thing I'd do. We'd either have the DH on all 30 teams or we'd have the pitcher hit. But we got to get that straightened out. You can't, and especially if you're going to have interleague play, you should not have different rules. Now,
Absolutely.
It's a big disadvantage for an American League team to come to the National League City. And it's not as big a disadvantage for a National League team to go to American League City because they can put a hitter in there that's been playing part-time or sitting on a bench. So it's a big disadvantage for the Twins and so forth, or any American League team to come to St. Louis or any National League City. But I don't like the fact that, you know, we get to play Kansas City every year, and the White Sox have to play the Cubs, and the Mets have to play the Yankees, and then you got the team has to play Boston. But, you know, it's good for Kansas City because that's the only 3 sellouts they get during the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it still ain't fair. I don't care what they say, and I thought Kansas City would be a lot better this year. I thought when they started off, they were going to really be good. And, you know, for them to play the Cardinals 6 games and not see Greinke is amazing.
Yes, it is.
You know, you'd think if I was the manager of the Royals, I'd like to win the game. Right. Yeah. But that didn't. I couldn't believe that, really. But I just don't like it because it's unfair. That's my biggest reason.
Bases loaded here for Tyler Green. And Whitey Herzog, the great Whitey, is with us. And you're one of the guys that, you know, basically played that small ball. That was the last time we've really heard about it, the speed and the small ball of the game. And that's what fans gravitated for. They loved it. And now you see the power. Does that bother you a little bit?
Well, you're never going to see baseball like that again. First of all, our ballpark was bigger. The Cardinals had never finished above 11th or 12th in home runs since 1966. And if you wanted to play that type of baseball today, we'd have to have a stadium with the jacked up ball and the way kids are getting bigger. 375 down the lines, 390 in the gaps, and 450 to center. That's the only way that you could dominate and play that kind of running game again. You're never going to see that again, Danny.
I agree with you. Yeah. I loved it. I miss it. I know a lot of our fans do as well. 1 ball and 2 strikes here on Tyler Green with the bases loaded. Foul back.
I like this kid.
Tyler,
I like him.
How about Brendan Ryan?
He's aggressive, but I think he's going to be a wonderful shortstop. And I watched him play. His movement's good. His footwork's outstanding. And I like the other guy too. I mean, Ryan. You know, I mean, he's played wonderful. So they got 2 young kids there. I mean, that I really like. And Brandon Ryan can play different places. And I think Tyler put on the first base club the other night.
Yes, he did. He said it was first time ever. We both told him, Al and I, don't get used to it. There's a guy that's pretty good. That hit his helmet. Off the bill of the helmet. And he hits a man with the bases loaded. And the Cardinals have a 2-run lead. So thankfully, this isn't serious. It just caught the bill of his cap. You could hear it up here. Or the bill of his helmet, I should say. Give me a name, Whitey, outside of Albert Pujols that you like to watch in today's game that you'll say, all right, I'm watching the game. I'll stop and watch that guy either pitch or hit.
Well, I tell you what, you don't see the Twins much on TV. And very seldom you see them on Game of the Week and so forth. And I know they got a great advantage playing in the Huberdine.
The Metrodome, yeah.
Yeah, but the big thing is that catcher can play.
Joe Mauer.
And he can hit.
Yes, he can.
And he's got a short stroke. And I really was here last night, and I was so impressed. The short stroke. He hit the good curve ball off of Wainwright. Pujols robbed him of a hit, and he got 2 walks. But, you know, he's hitting 397, 98 for crying out loud. He's a catcher. It's the end of June. And he's already won, 2 batting titles. So, you know, I can say right now I think Albert's the best ball player in the major leagues. But when I see Joe Mauer and what he's doing, maybe I should say he's the best player in the National League. And let's say maybe Joe Mauer's the best player in the other league.
Before we run out of time with you, a guy named George Brett came awfully close to hitting 400 that you know very, very well. Can it be done?
I don't think so. And the reason I'm saying that is because the night, day, and the schedules and so forth, the travel, the interleague play, and all the places you go, I just don't think it's feasible. Now, George was right there, you know, in August, and like Joe Mauer just said, it's only June. You know what I'm saying? And he's a catcher, and he's going to be up there some hot days and so forth and be playing in a lot of heat.
Live after the game right here on Fox Sports Midwest. Again, that number for Whitey's tournament, September 13th and 14th. It's area code 314-504-7981. 314-504-7981. Al will be there along with many of the other relievers here in St. Louis. And great cause, September 13th and 14th, Forest Hills Golf Club. Whitey Herzog's tournament. Morning flight, afternoon flight on the 14th, and the dinner on the 13th. If you'd just like to see the folks at the dinner. And there's a base hit up the middle. Tony La Russa elected to let Kenny hit for himself with the bases loaded, and he struck out.
And you know, I thought Hawksworth's your long man, but you know, in fairness, he is playing with a short bench. He's only got 4 extra men right there, and Brendan Ryan is kind of banged up, so you know, he doesn't have all this strength.
Here is Denard Span.
Delman Young was the pinch hitter.
So Kenny came in, really did a nice job. Last inning with 2 runners on and only 1 out, runners at second and third. He got a ground ball sharply hit to second, infield in. They went to the plate. Molina applied the tag, and then he got a ground ball to second to end the inning. Albert Pujols did it again with his second home run. He's got 4 RBIs on the day, up to 74 in that department. We've still got a ways to go before the All-Star break, and who knows how high he could be before the All-Star game.
Well, and when people still pitch to him, which is hard for us to fathom. I've got a very serious question for you.
Yes, sir.
Very serious.
This ought to be good. I'm ready for it, though. I'm prepared.
Isn't it fun to talk to Whitey?
I love it. I mean, no offense to you, Al. I love talking baseball with you, but I could have sat here all day and talked with Whitey.
Well, I didn't want to, get me fired or replaced, but I mean, to do a whole game with Whitey?
Oh, there's so many things you could talk about. But he, by the way, said unsolicited, I would never pitch to Albert Pujols in the first inning, and I said I wouldn't pitch to him
any inning.
In the first, the third, the fifth, the seventh, the ninth, whatever. I don't care who's in the lineup. I'm just not pitching Albert Pujols.
Kevin Slowey is slow to learn. He may agree with you right now.
But isn't that part of Ron Gardenhire's staff and a little bit on their shoulders, too, to say, look, you've got to know better than to pitch to Albert Pujols. And they've been challenging him in this series. That's a good slider there. Tied him up, but did not go around. I know it is up to the execution of the players.
Right. But I mean, like you say, common sense. You have a pitcher's meeting, you go over Albert Pujols, and you say, look, guys, I know we want to challenge everybody, but this guy can't beat you.
I mean, can you imagine if Joe Nathan gives up that home run last night? And I guess that's a different circumstance than the guy that is a starter and he's 10-2, but Nathan is your big gun. There's a line drive and there's a double play. Got to have a little luck along the way. Cardinals need that double play off the bat of Span.
Part of the game, too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Mention how they play that National League style of ball. They started the runner here, and that is one of the risks when you do that, lining into a double play.
Right. But it's worth it.
Yes, it is.
Trying to get back in the game.
And here is Brendan Harris. Harris with the big hit for Minnesota this afternoon. And that is past Schumacher, up the middle, just out of his reach. Harris with a 2-out single, and it brings in Morneau to represent the tying run. But the thing about Whitey, too, Al, is don't forget that you can get your All-Star Game tickets and tickets to Cardinal Baseball at StubHub, the only site with Fan Protect Guarantee, is that you can ask him anything that's going on in the game of baseball. As Tony La Russa now, long walk, and he's had a lefty getting up, but ask him anything that's going on right now and how it pertains to the baseball here in 09, and he can relate it to when he was managing or playing, and it's just wonderful.
Sure. And
Trevor Miller. He's coming in. This is our call to the bullpen. Opponent's .216 average against Trevor Miller. third lowest among lefty relievers. So Tony La Russa calls upon Trevor Miller. This will be his 31st appearance. Mentioned that he's third lowest among lefty relievers with 30 or more appearances as far as the batting average is concerned at 216. And both lefties have been pretty good. Miller has not allowed a run in his last 10 outings, and lefties only hitting 128 against him. So Tony La Russa going to the pen here in this fourth inning. And against Miller, interesting there, a couple of home runs for Morneau.
Yeah, but face each other in the American League. Trevor was with Detroit. But, you know, going back to, you know, your question about Kinney batting with the bases loaded. What is surprising to me is, and I said I'm giving him a little bit of a pass because he's got the short bench and he's got Brendan Ryan, who's a little banged up but can only pinch run. And if you're getting in a game like this and you supposedly have a long man named Blake Hawksworth and he's not in this game, why do you have 8 relievers and not protect yourself with another position player on the bench?
Sure.
You know, Minnesota has 6 relievers.
And right now a right-hander is getting loose in the pen, so this is one and done, it looks like, for Trevor Miller.
Well, he's got 2 left-handers back to back here.
Kubel on deck, and then you have the righty. So then you figure that Miller, if he gets Morneau here, then would start the inning in the 5th.
It's Kyle McClellan warming up for the Cardinals. Slowey is out of this game, and it looks like Keppel is going to be coming in for Minnesota, the St. Louis.
Up and in, and he strikes out Morneau. 5-3 St. Louis. to this date in baseball history. Anthony Young sets a Major League Baseball record by losing his 24th straight decision as the Cardinals would beat the Mets 5-3. He had 6 years in the major leagues with the Mets, the Cubs, and the Astros. And it was actually 27 consecutive games in which he had a loss, which was the all-time record. And here is a St. Louisan, Bob Keppel. We talked about him last night. His other stops in the major leagues, he has been a starter, but now working as a reliever, and the Twins think they have found a spot for him in that regard. They designated for assignment Luis Ayala, and a team has 10 days to either trade him, release him, or place him on waivers when you do that. So Keppel, 23 appearances for Rochester, had 3 losses on the year. And it's been 2 years since he was last up. He's out of DeSmet High School, about 15 minutes away here from downtown St. Louis. And Al, I can tell you he was a heck of a basketball player, too, as his DeSmet Spartans won the state championship. Welcome back to St. Louis, Bob. Thurston is taking 3. He's going to have a triple.
Probably an error out there in center field.
If not, it's his 4th triple of the season.
Yeah, he leads the ball club with his 3, and we'll see what they scored. Span had a little trouble. They scored a triple, but as you look on the replay, as he gets up to the wall, he drops it, and that made the decision. Now watch the center field. He's shading the left field, so it's out into right center. So he runs out there and then takes it off the wall, but then he kicks it. And that, with Thurston approaching second base, he could see that and just didn't miss stride and came on home.
Infield in, Schumacher grounds out to second base.
Meant to third, and he couldn't come home on that one.
So 4th triple to lead the club for Thurston as he stands at third base. 1 out here in the Cardinals half of the 4th, and it brings in Colby Rasmus. But Keppel, in that basketball game for Vashon, had a dunk at the very end of the game to seal the win for DeSmet. Of course, DeSmet known as a great basketball school.
6'5", 215, still just opening day. He was 26. He just turned 27 earlier this month.
Pitch inside to Colby Rasmus.
He was Mets selected by the Mets in the first round, the supplemental pick, 36 overall in the June 2000 draft.
You know what was lost with Anthony Young with that losing streak is that at one point he had 12 consecutive saves for John Franco when he was hurt with the Mets.
You still have to be pretty good to be given the ball.
That's right. Another ground ball. Morneau is there. They wouldn't pitch to Pujols again, would they?
If they do.
Yes.
We would be crazy. And he's not getting it. They're going to potentially pass him.
Now, here's one of those situations where we sometimes talk about the unintentional, intentional pitch around Pujols. And my whole thing is this. Why even take that chance? And you always talk about how guys can't locate a fastball. Hey, Pujols will be ready for it.
No doubt. But I mean that's what I'm saying. It's, you know, you would like to think that guys at this level can successfully pitch around people. But we saw Aaron Harang, who is, you know, an excellent pitcher. You know, he in one start failed to do it twice as a 2-run home run, and then later on in the game an RBI double. And the Cardinals won that one 3-1 behind Carpenter.
So an intentional walk, and the 2 walks that the Cardinals have received today and in this series, 2 total have been intentional. They intentionally walked Ann Keel.
Fewest walks in the American League. You know, the staff that has the fewest walks is Minnesota Twins.
By the way, if you're just joining us, Pujols with 2 home runs today, numbers 27 and 28. Now with 74 RBIs.
6th this year that he's hit 2 home runs in a game, and 29th time in his career, a multi-home run game.
Anthony Young in his 6 years, 15 wins, 48 losses. He played at the University of Houston and now lives in that area and coaches Little League down there. 29th career multi-home run game for Albert Pujols, and the Cardinals 24-4 in those games. Two outs, runners at the corners.
Benton 1 for 2, flared a little single out into left field.
Carlos Pena leads in home runs in the American League with 22. Pujols now, as we mentioned, at 28. And that is 4 ahead of Adrian Gonzalez of San Diego. Prince Fielder with 69 RBIs. Pujols now with 74. Jason Bay of Boston with 69 RBIs for Boston.
Just look at, look at the guys that are first basemen in the National League having superior years.
Good luck trying to get those guys in the All-Star game. Ryan Howard, Pujols, Prince Fielder, Gonzalez of San Diego.
Yeah.
And that's outside. Bases loaded. Here's Molina. Inning started with a triple by Thurston. Then 2 groundouts with Thurston at third base with the infield drawn in. Intentional walk to Pujols. Walk to Duncan. And the bases are loaded for Yadier Molina, who reached on an error by the shortstop last time up. That extended the inning to Ricky Ankiel. They intentionally walked him. Tyler Green was hit with the bases loaded, and then striking out was Josh Kenny. Two outs, bases loaded. Molina has no problems hitting with 2 strikes if he would elect to take a strike or 2 in this spot. We're only in the 4th. Good ball game. It's 5-3. 1 ball, 1 strike. With the way that the Cardinals have been going offensively too, that's another aspect of not using a position player in that spot with the bases loaded last inning.
Sure.
You don't get many chances.
I mean, our problem is offense. So why not give yourself that extra bench player? And I'm saying that especially because you've got 4 and you really have 3 point something, because Brendan Ryan can only pinch run.
1-1 with 2 outs and the bases loaded. The next to Molina. 2 balls and a strike. They've got heat tips here at the ballpark up on the Jumbotron. It is a hot, hot day.
Water misters. Drink lots of water.
Molina taps it foul, and it's strike 2, 2-2.
We always talk about how tough it is on the players, but those umpires don't come off the field in between innings, so they're staying out there in that heat for the entire ball game. He got his numbers with a 2-2 count.
Bases loaded for Molina. 2-2 with 2 outs, and the Cardinals lead it by 2. The St. Louis and Keppel on the mound for Minnesota. 2-2 pitch. Spoiled by Yadier Molina.
Those pitcher's pitches that he just gets some wood on and foul it off. Keep it up there. Keppel was the 2000 Missouri State High School Athlete of the Year. All-state basketball and baseball, both as junior and senior. No football?
I don't believe so. And a swing and a miss as Molina throws the bat at it, strikes out, and Keppel gets out of a jam. strikeout of Yadier Molina. Cardinals lead it 5-3. You come to the ballpark beginning 2 hours prior to the game. It's in the Ford Plaza. Music, fun, games. Don't forget the free ice cream while supplies last. North Star Ice Cream Sundays. Kubel, Kadire, and Crady for Minnesota. Cardinals have a 5-3 lead. Also in the interview with Whitey Herzog, I said, where would you rank Albert Pujols? Whitey, with all the great players that you played with, managed, or watched, and he said right now he's in my top 5 ever. Ever.
That comes from a wealth of knowledge. And I mean, did he name the other 4?
He did not. He did mention, you know, some of the great players: Frank Robinson, Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, Stan the Man. You know, he talked about great players over generations, but he put Albert in the top 5. Here's an 0-1 pitch to Kubel, and Kubel today has walked and flied out to center. I mean, mentioned everything that Pujols does, whether it be, you know, hitting and the unbelievable job of what he's able to do to keep the ball fair down the left field line. He talked about that being the best aspect of his game and the best he's ever seen at doing that. He said, but people don't talk enough about his defense and just how good it is.
Well, in fact, leading the team in steals. I mean, just every aspect except with you know, the bases loaded. And he has tied Stan Musial for, you know, 9 career grand slams in that area.
No, you're thinking
3-2 count,
right?
Yeah. As I was saying, it didn't quite sound right, but 3-2 count.
Foul back.
But I'll work with him on that.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'd love to get advice from you on hitting. I like Hal McRae's approach. We don't bother him too much because old Albert knows his swing pretty well.
You know, but yet Hal is part of everyday routine. They do some of that soft tossing down in the underneath before they come out for batting practice. Part of his preparation. Probably the last batter that Miller will face.
And a strikeout. Fastball. Kubel down on strikes.
He's faced 2 left-handers. He struck both of them out. And now Kyle McClellan will be coming in.
I know these fans on a hot day appreciate these pitching changes.
Oh yeah, I was thinking the same thing. He wants his pitchers to be efficient, get the players off the field, and then he goes and makes pitching changes.
Albert's going off the field. He's headed to the dugout. McClellan coming in. We're in the 5th inning. 5-3 St. Louis. Good work by Miller. into the ball game for St. Louis. 5-3 Cardinals on top, one out here in the fifth.
Look at this conversation between Molina and Kadire, and there was nothing wrong with the way Kadire came into Molina. I mean, that's good old-fashioned baseball. It came in, slid hard, and the umpire saying, "Come on, let's play baseball."
And for those of you that just joined us, it was a bang play at the plate. Ground ball to Schumacher. He went home, and Kadire was coming in. So Kyle McClellan, the fourth pitcher used by the Cardinals. Todd Wellemeyer got the start, went 2 1/3. Kenny an inning and a third. Trevor Miller 2/3 of an inning. And it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Here's that play at the plate.
You see that high throw, so he's stretched out, but he goes in. Now, if you wanted to do a cheap shot, you'd run right into him standing up. But that's just good, clean baseball. And then Albert took a shot. Molina took a shot and punched him in the chest.
2-1.
Dyer's head was still ringing, though, and his helmet came off and his head hit the back of the dirt.
It's sharply to third. Thurston comes up with it. Over to Albert. What a play. What a play over third base by Joe Thurston.
So leads the team in errors, but he makes up for one last night with a dazzling play right there. A little bit off the line, backhands it, and spins around, comes up and throws a strike to Albert.
Joe Crede was saying before the game one of the most disappointing nights of sleep he ever got was in Game 7 of the 1987 World Series. Cardinals and Twins. He was 9 years old and he fell asleep. And he missed it.
Well, as the outcome maybe it was a good thing.
That's right. At that time, that Twins team that won, they won with a record of 85-77, which at that time in 1987 was the worst record for a World Series winning team.
Gee, somebody broke that a couple years back.
Cardinals went 83-78. Everything was right about that 2006 team once postseason play got here, and they almost didn't get there.
You know, Whitey, when you look at the 85 World Series, you didn't have Vince Coleman, and Jack Clark was banged up too, if I remember right. It gets to 87, he also had the Terry Pendleton, and he was down to where Joe McGrain had to start that. A rookie had to start Game 7.
That's pulled foul. Minnesota Twins with 3 championships in franchise history.
One of the series, Terry Pendleton can only hit from one side of the plate.
Out to center field. That was the Twins Senators. 3 World Series titles in 24, 87, most recently 1991.
Herbeck.
Yep. Of course, Kirby Puckett, part of that team. Dan Gladden.
Yeah, I saw Dan Gladden running out of the dugout there. He's doing radio for the Twins now.
Dan was saying to me that the one thing that Tom Kelly always preached was that your work was done before the game. The game was actually easy. You know what?
That's a good point.
You figured that you were going to have 6 to 10 pitches in the game at the plate. You might see a ground ball or two. You might turn a double play or two, and that was it. So your work was done prior to the game. So he was very much a player's manager. Popped up off the bat of Rick Ankiel into center field. Got underneath it. And let's turn to our Aflac trivia question with 1 out. And the Cardinals half of the 5th with St. Louis on top 5-3. There's Tyler Green. Whitey said he likes this kid. What is the single season record for cycles by one team? Minnesota with 2 already here in 09.
Surprise you.
Way back when, 1933, the Philadelphia A's. Connie Mack's Philadelphia A's.
It surprises you, but then you think about it, and it is extremely rare event, and then they've had 2 this season.
Connie Mack dismantled that team that had Hall of Famers. Lefty Grove, Jimmy Fox was on that team. Al Simmons.
Probably wanted about $5,000 a year.
And it was the early years of the Great Depression, so he was selling off some of his players.
He owned the team, so he could do it.
That's right. 0-2 with 1 out on Tyler Green.
What did Whitey say that he liked about Tyler Green?
Defense.
Okay.
And Brendan Ryan. He felt that both these guys defensively good players. A strikeout. That strike zone has gotten a little bit lower. And he also talked about the footwork of Tyler Green. Cheer on your Cardinals against the reigning World Series champs, the Philadelphia Phillies, July 24th through the 26th on the official Cardinals road trip package. Each package includes hotel accommodations, game tickets, and an exclusive Cardinals event. Reserve your spot on the road trip July 24th through the 26th. 800-892-7687. Keppel with 2 scoreless innings, and we have played 5 here at Busch Stadium. Cardinals lead at 5-3. Dan McLaughlin, Al Raboski back with you. It's 5-3 St. Louis over Minnesota as we move to the 6th inning. Some worn out players right now out there as they are battling the heat here in the Midwest. Albert Pujols with a couple of home runs today, 2 two-run shots. Cardinals also added an RBI by Tyler Green when he was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. They're braving the heat here at the ballpark.
Talking to Dave Duncan one time, and about playing in Old Bush Stadium and the heat of our careers, all the different turf. We said, how do we do it? And the only thing we come up with was, we didn't know any better, but that was the conditions, and you just kind of prepared yourself for it. Just went out there, it'd be 140 degrees. You get down field level and you'd see the heat rising to about the thighs of the players.
0-2 the count.
Never tried the lettuce, though. Just think how long my career would have been prolonged.
See, you mock what you don't know, Al. As who'd we have in the other day that talked about that?
Keith Hernandez.
That's right.
He never tried it either, but he heard about it.
Whitey said that. I said, how'd you deal with this with your players? He said, well, it is what it is. You play the game. And he said, my starter was the one I was really worried about. Then I realized, and he told me, I'm standing on the mound in dirt.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I used to tell people. It wasn't that bad for the pitcher because he's on dirt.
A strikeout for McClellan, his first of the afternoon. This strike zone, and I don't blame him, is getting a little bit bigger.
And we've seen a lot of times an umpire will have to be relieved, on day games, on very hot conditions where they succumb to the heat, dizziness or something, or fall ill.
And with the strike zone, I haven't seen it gotten wider, but it's
up and down.
Yeah, up and down. It's definitely gotten a little bit bigger. Lincecum, the Cy Young Award winner. We're going to see him on Monday night. And Brad Thompson opposes Tim Lincecum. Giants in town for the first of 4. They can pitch. Lincecum, Kane, Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson was saying the other day that his son has more in common, who was a bat boy during his 300th win game in Washington, who's 13 years old, than he does with some of his current teammates. He said his son is into video games and his iPod, and all the other players are. That's pulled foul. 1-2 is the count. What a great player. What a great accomplishment to get to 300 after the first 3 years in the big leagues. He led the league in walks. We'll see a lefty tomorrow, Francisco Liriano.
Still Warren Spahn is the all-time wins leader for left-handers. He didn't really start pitching or becoming a winner until he was like 26. He's got 363, I believe, all-time wins, most ever by a lefty.
And a strikeout.
Kyle's retired all 4 that he has faced after he had some good pitching from Trevor Miller, as he struck out both many guys. Kenny was very good.
Wellemeyer, Kenny, Miller, now McClellan. And Keppel will hit for himself as he gets a nice round of applause. Must be a thrill for him to come back to St. Louis, just like it is for Joe Crede, and play against the Cardinals.
Remember I said that Gardenhire has 6 relievers. The Cardinals have 8 relievers.
Two 2-0.
2 Missouri guys going at it, but I wonder if they ever competed at the amateur level against each other.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they did. I remember talking with Kyle McClellan.
I think Keppel might have had the best of them outing, at least when he had the bat in his hand. Walked him.
Wow, 4 straight, and he walks Keppel. Molina gets up slowly and fires it back to McClellan, who can't believe it. McClellan, along with Adam Wainwright, are the player reps. And, of course, Donald Fehr announced his retirement this past week. We had Bob Dupay on in our visit to New York. He is the president of Major League Baseball, lawyer, and in those negotiations with Donald Fehr, and he said he was shocked that Fehr decided to retire because he was with him in a conference in Switzerland just a week ago, and there was no mention of it. They'll play behind Keppel with Span up, who lined into a double play his first time up. And there's what I'm talking about. That's a pretty good pitch in the outside corner, but he's not getting that call. Up and down he will, but not the wide strike zone. 1 ball, 1 strike. Span is grounded out to first, walked and scored the second, and lined into the double play in the fourth. That was the first walk issued by Cal McClellan. Pujols playing behind Keppel over at first. Left field, and the catch made. Midway through 6, 5-3 St. Louis. And the difference is drinkability. What's on tap? The Twins and the Cardinals on KSDK. Jay Randolph and Ricky Horton will have the call coming your way at 12:30 on Channel 5. FSN Midwest crew, great job withstanding the heat here at Busch Stadium. It is scorching hot here in downtown St. Louis. Of course, Big Dog wanted to go out and work one of those cameras in the sun, but he wisely negotiated a deal to keep him in here. And T West is back behind us, and he's got an early start on the North Star Ice Cream Sundae.
He turned the work over to Ben. Made Ben do all the work for him.
Keppel, 3rd inning of work for Minnesota. First man he saw was a triple in the 4th inning, and then he got the next 2. Intentional walk to Pujols, a walk to Duncan, so bases loaded. Then he got his first strikeout of Yadier Molina, and last inning it was 1-2-3. So here we go again with Joe Thurston. Thurston on the day with a fine play over at third base, and 1 for 2 with a strikeout and that triple. Youth baseball has really gotten better here in St. Louis over the last few years with high draft choices. Ooh, Thurston hit by the pitch. It's the second Cardinal that's been hit. And we're back to the top of the lineup. And Skip Schumacher.
Ball getting away, gets him right on about the thigh. And like a true professional, Thurston just hustles down to first base.
Mentioned that Minnesota is 4 back of Detroit at the start of play today. The Cardinals are tied now with Milwaukee. Cardinals at 40 and 35. Milwaukee at 39 and 34. Schumacher takes the ball outside and low. Milwaukee has San Francisco over the weekend at home. Lurking is Albert Pujols. On deck Rasmus, then we'll see Albert.
Got him.
And Thurston is picked off at first.
Well, that's even worse. You know, you hit him and then you pick him off. Time that step off as he's walking off there and inched a little bit further, and he threw back and got him.
They talk about how you want to inch off the bag and not cross your legs or be leaning towards second. It looked like that was the case with Thurston there.
Yeah.
Back to the windup, Keppel. No reason to think he couldn't go far in this game because he's been a starter in the minor leagues.
That's exactly right. It would take that lead there, and
that's what I'm talking about right there.
Yep.
You can't cross your legs like that.
Cross your legs like that, and then you just can't get back as quick.
Little chopper up the middle, backhanded throw to first, and safe.
A 3-hit game for Schumacher.
He has done this time and again, diving into first base.
Probably got that down better than anybody else.
There was somebody recently that just got hurt doing this too. Broke a finger. So good call. He was safe. And here's Rasmus with Albert Pujols on deck.
I think it makes more sense doing it at first base than it does second and third.
And a ground ball that's pulled foul. And your reason being?
Well, I just, I mean, I think you got the throw that's coming in down there. You got the guy tagging feet and everything else, where really the first baseman is usually trying to stretch out and a little more stationary. Reyes is warming up in the Cardinal bullpen.
0-1 pitch to Colby Rasmus. Tapped foul. Rasmus in center field today. He's 0 for 3. He's popped out to the catcher, flied out to center, and grounded out to first unassisted. Just missing, low and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Kobe's dropped about 20 points in his batting average just since Kansas City.
Watch how Schumacher, Al, takes his lead off without crossing his legs. At least he's done that the previous times leading into this pitch. That way you can't get tied up.
This little short choppy step so you can get back quicker.
Right.
Inch out, that's what we're talking about.
Two is hit to second base. Out there over to first, not in time. And let's bring in Albert and extend the inning.
Schumacher goes in very hard, but ends up so far away from second base. Questionable. You see he goes after him and he can't touch the bag. So I mean, in theory they could rule it a double play. He's nowhere near the bag. And Gary Davis, the home plate or the crew chief out there at second base, kind of looked at that too. You might talk to him about it when he takes the field.
So here we go. Pujols up on base 3 times, 2 home runs, both 2-run shots. First pitch is outside. Cardinals about hit Minnesota 8-6. First home run, number 27 in the first. Number 2 of the day was number 28 back in the third. Intentionally walked in the fourth. Ron Gardenhire just pacing in that dugout. 1-0 pitch. 2 balls and no strikes.
Keppel, that's so far he's trying to make it close enough to get him to expand the zone, but good pitches down would be difficult to take that pitch out of the ballpark. And so they're competing but doing it in a sensible way.
The 2-0 pitch.
You see they're right there. That's how you pitch around a guy. Crowd sensing what they're doing.
The next 2, Albert. That's a strike. 3-1.
Just like the pitch before, this time it's called the strike, but that pitch right there, you'd almost have to look for it and try to drive it to right field. And because it's down, it's doubtful it would be a home run.
And a walk to Pujols on base for the 4th time. All-time highs through 76 team games. Personal ranks for Pujols make a case it's his best year ever. 2-time MVP winner Albert Pujols.
We were showing a graphic on the road trip, and at that time I said it was better seasons than when he had won his 2 MVP years. There's 3 MVP awards right there.
Duncan is grounded out. He's singled and walked into the 4th. 2 outs, 2 on. Outside to Chris.
Cardinals have not scored off of Keppel. He's thrown 43 pitches. 23 of them have been balls. As he's walked 3. 1 was intentional. That was Albert. And he's hit a batter.
I mean, there's some guys that would take the numbers for an entire season right now with what Pujols has done. 28 home runs, 74 RBIs.
Are you kidding me? They're 50% of these guys would take those numbers for a season. Probably higher than that.
Duncan, a little flare. Creedy will give chase, but out of play. Strike 2. 1 ball and 2 strikes. One-two pitch. This is on the outside corner, 2-2.
And right now Albert has twice as many walks as he has strikeouts.
It's part of the greatness of Pujols. Lack of strikeouts and still a power hitter. Hits for average. Disciplined. And now to visit is Redmond. You'd have to like what you've seen so far from Keppel for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, don't like to see the walks, but
you like that.
I like that.
Strikeout. And for Keppel, that is his 3rd in 3 innings of work. The nation's fastest 3G network, AT&T, your world delivered. And by the double cheeseburger extra value meal, now just $2.99 at McDonald's. Hot afternoon, glad you're with us. Hopefully you're somewhere cool and enjoying baseball today. Union Station in St. Louis. It's cool waters by Union Station.
Probably the last man that McClellan will face, as Reyes is warming up for the two lefties in the lineup.
Kyle McClellan came in back in the 5th inning after the strikeout of Pujols. It was a great play by the third baseman Thurston. Fly out to center. He has struck out 2 so far and walked 1. McClellan, the 4th pitcher used by the Cardinals this afternoon. This is Harris, and a foul ball. Brendan Harris, Justin Morneau, Jason Pujols, top of the 7th. Just joined us, Albert Pujols, with 2 2-run homers here this afternoon. Did it back in the 1st, again in the 3rd, intentionally walked in the 4th, and walked in the 6th. Harris today with a base hit and 3 RBIs. Bases loaded back in the 2nd inning. The starter today was Todd Wellemeyer. Only lasted 2 1/3. 3 runs on 4 hits. The walks, though, going deep into counts as he walked 4 this afternoon.
Harris trying to get a toe hold. Trying to get in that batter's box and feel comfortable and fearing a quick pitch.
Curveball, goodbye. Strikeout. And 3 today for McClellan. That's what we saw last night. First 3 appearances by Harris against Wainwright. Breaking ball after breaking ball. And the lefties coming up, Morneau and Pujols. And so Denny's Reyes will come in for St. Louis. Pitching change for Tony La Russa.
Spectacular night in the summer's biggest event as Fox brings you every thrilling moment of the 2009 MLB All-Star Game. Coverage begins Tuesday, July 14th, live from St. Louis at 7 p.m. only on Fox. Well, the Cardinals, thanks to two-run home runs by Albert Pujols, have a 5-3 lead. There's 1 out here in the 7th inning. Our call to the bullpen as Denny's Reyes comes in to face pair of left-handers, and Reyes has held left-handed hitters to a .217 average. That's for the season, but that has been on the climb of late.
0-1 pitch to Morneau. Smokes one out to center field. Rasmus going back with room and makes the catch on the track. Colby drifting back for that fly ball. And Morneau has been held in check today. He's 0 for 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. Here is Kubel with 2 outs. Kubel walked in the first, fly to center, and struck out in the 5th.
Jason Mott is warming up in case Reyes loses Kubel.
So Mott getting loose. At what point do you see Joe Mauer in this game?
And he can tie it or win it.
Yep. And that's a strike. 2-1 with 2 outs and nobody on. Denny's Reyes, former Minnesota Twin.
That's right. He had a career high 75 appearances last year with Minnesota. Leads the Cardinal appearances with now his 38th.
Did he go? No. 3-1. Kadire on deck. Hard hit ball back in the first. He's doubled, then was robbed in the third. Good pitch. 3-2. That kind of day for Skip.
That's an old ball player right there. Dirty.
Pulled to Pujols. Makes the play. Reyes to the bag. Got him. Unbelievable play again by Albert Pujols. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, on base 4 times, and maybe the play of the game defensively. Summer, bring your family to Major League Baseball All-Star Fan Fest July 10th to the 14th at America's Center. For tickets, go to allstargame.com. 888-FANFEST. The vertical on Denny's Reyes, outstanding. That was part of the scouting report that we got from the Twins.
Oh, yes.
Great vertical over there at first to get that ball.
You know, old-fashioned baseball. If some of the Twins or Kadire had made some of his teammates aware of what Molina has done, this could be an uncomfortable at bat for him.
Absolutely. And there was a collision with Kadire and Molina midway through this game, and then those two had words when Kadire came up to hit.
The umpire had to, and it was really Molina talking to Kadire, and the umpire has to get in front of him and say, hey, wait a minute, let's go play baseball.
Molina today is grounded out to short, reached on an error by the shortstop, and struck out in the fourth. Misses on the outside corner, 2-1. Two and two. Here's Kadire, the right fielder. Wears number 5. Two-two pitch in the dirt. Keppel has done a fine job here. Starter Slowey, 3 innings, 5 runs on 6 hits, and Keppel has shut the door since then.
The leadoff triple when he first came into the game, but he stranded Thurston at third base and walked 3, but he struck out 3.
Molina with a high fly ball into deep right field.
These two can't stay away from each other, can
Flies out to Kadire.
I'll show you. I'll make you field the ball.
Looking ahead in the 8th inning, Kadire, Creedy, and Redmond due up for Minnesota. Here's Rick Ankiel, intentionally walked back in the 3rd. He twice has flied out to center.
Now, I don't know if Redmond said something to Molina, because the umpire had to get in front of him as Ankiel was approaching. Had nothing to do with Rick.
Curveball hit on the ground to short. Backing up, Harris. 2 outs. Cardinals today have not gone 1-2-3 with the exception of the 5th inning. Green is 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts. He was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded back in the 3rd. As he was hit on the bill of the helmet. Brian Ludwig is on deck. Mott is throwing in the pen. Keppel started playing in the 4th inning for Minnesota. Making his way 2nd time through this lineup. And a ground ball that Creedy has. Played 7 on this hot afternoon at Busch Stadium. 5-3 Cardinals. 4 of the 5 driven in. A pair of 2-run homers. That was a base hit with the bases loaded and 2 outs. That would score 3 out the bat of Brendan Harris. The collision with Kadire Molina. Pujols again would do it. Second time up. And it's now Jason Mott. We have seen Wellemeyer, Kenny, Miller, McClellan, Reyes, Mott.
Ludwig comes in, part of a double switch. He's playing right field, and then Keel moves to left.
2/3 of an inning for Denny's Reyes, all zeros. Ludwig will be due up first for the Cardinals in the bottom of the 8th. This is Kadire. Lined out to left, and Keel makes the catch. Holds on.
Kind of felt that ball ready to pop out, so he puts his bare hand up there to make sure it stays in the glove.
Rarely, though, do we see him not use 2 hands. That's something of a rarity in baseball, unfortunately. Hit out of play. This is Creedy. Now you would figure if Creedy gets on, you've got the catcher spot. Redmond coming up. Might be your time to use Joe Mauer. Creedy on the day has popped out to first, singled in the 3rd, and flied out to center. Pulls it foul. That's strike 2. Oh, 2 pitch. Mott going right after him.
Which he should.
Cardinals in their bullpen have Franklin, Hawksworth, and Perez left. Swing and a miss on the slider that time. Creedy strikes out. 2 away.
They just set up outside. There's a slider. Keep that ball down there. You're not going to get hurt. And got Creedy to chase.
So 2 away. Here's Redmond. Tolbert on deck, and then Keppel's spot. Lefty getting loose in the pen for Minnesota. A slider misses. Low and away. Pair of home runs by Pujols. Bases loaded, hit by pitch. Tyler Green to account for the 5 runs for St. Louis. 1 ball, 1 strike. Henn is the left-hander getting loose in the pen. Thursday, San Francisco in town. Don't forget it's Bank of America All-Star Game lapel pin night, commemorating the 1966 game. And on Monday night, as we mentioned earlier, half price night. Terrace or Pavilion Reserve seats at 50% off. Two and one the count. Fly ball. Playable. Ludwig got it. Good work by Mott. 5-3. 28-year-old from Fort Worth, Texas. 6'4", 225-pounder. That is contract selected from AAA Rochester. Made his Twins debut back on May 19th at Chicago. Made 4 appearances for San Diego last year. Walked 9, struck out 9 in 9 1/3. 65 years ago yesterday, the 3 New York teams play each other in a 6-inning exhibition game. The final score is Dodgers 5, Yankees 1, Giants 0. You love those fun facts, Al. Just makes the broadcast so much fun.
Oh, it just brings a smile to my face. Those fans are pretty popular right now.
Ludwig leads it off for the Cardinals. Bottom of the 8th, 5-3 St. Louis. Coming off the bench here this afternoon. Face this lefty. And the first pitch is a strike. Twins will have Tolbert, Henspot, Span coming up in the 9th inning. Saw Franklin pitch last night as the Cardinals lost that ball game 3-1. He's getting loose now. 0-2 the count on Ryan Ludwig.
Ludwig's 0 for his last 12, and his average has dipped down to 226.
The 0-2. Swung on and missed. Ludwig strikes out. And that's how we start the bottom of the 8th. Joe Thurston. He's had an eventful day. He's had a triple today. He's hit by a pitch, then picked off. He struck out and made a dazzling play over at third base. Cardinals defense has been very good here this afternoon. Thurston trying to bunt his way on and bunts it foul. Strike one on the Cardinal third baseman. At AAA, 24 innings for Sean Henn, 6 saves, walked 10, struck out 32 in 15 appearances. Signed in the offseason as a minor league free agent. 1 ball, 1 strike. Hardy's prime cuts of the game. Albert Pujols not once but twice today. Pair of 2-run homers. 1-1 pitch.
29 multi-home run games now for Albert.
He just doesn't wear down even in the heat of a St. Louis summer. He is ready to play game in and game out. Doesn't miss time. Rarely hurt. 2-1 pitch. 3-1. Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs is hatched in theaters July 1st. The coolest comedy of the summer. Three and 1 the count. 1 out, nobody on. Schumacher on deck. That's to the backstop. Thurston on base again. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals.
5th walk and 2 hit batsmen. Cardinals have received today from the Twins pitching.
So 3rd time that Thurston has been aboard. Schumacher this afternoon, a 3-hit day. Doubled and scored in the 1st on a Pujols home run. Singled and scored in the 3rd on a Pujols home run. And singled back in the 6th. He and Adam Wainwright are very close. And Skip was saying the other day about Albert Pujols, that he and Adam one time were just watching Pujols play and saying, we might be playing with the greatest player of our generation ever. And there's a lot to be said for that with the kind of numbers that Albert has put up. But as players, he said, we just unfortunately at times take it for granted. I know that's something that Tony La Russa's talked about all the time with the fans. Don't take Albert for granted.
When he did it once or twice or something like that, you know, Gabe got longevity. And now this is his 9th year. Tony, to see every one of those special at bats.
1 out, runner at first. Let's give this home plate umpire, a lot of credit for hanging in there in the heat. It's Mike Everett. Hot afternoon, and so far, you know, his strike zone has been pretty good. Got a little inconsistent for a little bit, but
call a few more strikes. Wouldn't hurt.
But staying in there in the heat, not an easy thing to do. 1-1 the count. 1 out, runner at first. First time that Hen has pitched on this road trip from Minnesota. Here's a 1-1 pitch.
Heat has overcome the truck. John is paying so much attention to Thurston over there. He's losing his concentration to the plate. Doesn't have a good move.
3-1 the count with 1 out and a runner at first.
Might have pitched it into a running count.
Thurston is leaning, not going, and the pitch is a strike. 3-2.
The crowd disagrees with your assessment of the home plate umpire.
Three-two pitch. Spoiled by Schumacher. A 3-2 pitch to Schumacher. Runner goes, and it's taken for a ball. May see Albert hit one more time. Ron Gardenhire calls time, and he wants to visit, and he'll go to the bullpen here. So Hen comes in, gets a strikeout, then back-to-back walks, and he's seen enough. Right-hander coming in. fills you up. The difference is drinkability. By Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. And by Hyundai. Discover why only Hyundai can say sales event. Visit your St. Louis area Hyundai dealers today. This is R.A. Dickey. And over his last 12 appearances, have to go back to May 5th. He has tossed 28 innings, allowing just 2 runs on 16 hits. That's a .64 ERA. He struck out 21 and walked just 5. And during that stretch, the opposition is hitting well below 200 at 165. So this will be his 21st appearance on the year. And lately, he's been very tough out of their bullpen. Gets Rasmus here and Pujols on deck.
Sion's a free agent. As last year, he was at Seattle for the bulk of the year. 32 appearances, 14 starts for them, 5.8 ERA over 5. But what if Kobe's ever faced a knuckleballer?
Runners at first and second. How about Tim Wakefield, what he's been able to do? Throwing the knuckleball all these years, and he's among the league leaders in wins again for the Boston Red Sox.
Did his major league debut, pitching for the Pirates. He's a true knuckleballer, where Dickey looked like he just threw a fastball there. So the guys that are true knuckleballers, you know, that really don't throw anything but that, unless they, you know, sometimes they get a 3-0 count or something. They're fun to watch.
1-1 pitch. Charlie Huff.
Bill Necro. Joe Necro.
Did you ever try to throw one in live action? I know you probably fooled with it on the side.
You know why we always tried to do it, because the infielders had the best ones.
A 2-1 pitch. 2-2. Just joining us, Pujols on deck. He has 2 home runs today.
I think he probably has some fans here, as he was born and resides in Nashville, Tennessee.
2-2 to Colby Rasmus. On the ground to second, out there to first. Got him. We head to the ninth. Pujols left on deck by 3. Cardinals live. Albert continues to amaze. Big time bullpen inside the clubhouse. All coming up on U.S. Cellular Cardinals live. Big time bullpen because Wellemeyer 2 1/3 today. Then we've seen Kenny, Miller, McClellan, Reyes, Mott, and now Franklin.
The only guy that would not be available possibly for tomorrow would be McClellan. As Tony's mixed and matched, moved everybody in there, nobody overworked, as Franklin will come in for the 28th time. He has 17 saves and 18 opportunities. He had picked up number 17. That was the same as he had all last year. ERA under 1, and in my mind, continues this for another couple weeks. He's got a good shot of being a National League All-Star. Mauer on deck.
Tolbert, and the first pitch is a strike. So important here to make sure that you don't let Mauer come up with a chance to tie it. And that's a strike. 0-2.
Save opportunities that haven't been around much for Franklin. Curveball. Backdoor.
Check swing. Did he go?
No.
1-2 the count.
Franklin's last save opportunity was last Saturday. Where he went 1 1/3 innings, the 4th of the year over 1 inning.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
Splitter.
2-2. Our visit with Whitey, I asked him, is there somebody outside of Pujols that you would love to watch in the game today? And he said the man on deck. Watching him yesterday as he was at the ballpark, and that's Mauer.
Like to slider away, or slider in.
2-2 pitch. Chopped foul.
Whitey usually, when he's not watching a Cardinal game, he's watching everybody else's games around the league too. Curveball.
And the curveball is line foul.
Very important. With Mauer lurking. Prior to this year, you didn't really worry about so much him hitting the home run to tie it, but he has got 14 this year.
Outfield very shallow at center and in left. Tolbert, ground ball to second. In steps Mauer. Tell you what, the Twins fans have really traveled well here to St. Louis.
They have, and we faced the Twins here in St. Louis at the old stadium, so it's their first look at the new stadium, and a lot of their fans have come out to watch their team. May not like the end of this one.
One out, nobody on. I know the fans in walking out of the stadium last night really enjoyed the ballpark. Busch Stadium. Career against Franklin. He's 2 for 3. They travel well to Chicago and over to Milwaukee and right here in St. Louis. 0-2. They'll go to Kansas City from here. Good pitch there by Franklin. Oh, 2 the count.
What's he going to do? Try and backdoor something? No, looks like slider in on.
And a ground ball. Pujols is there. Franklin covering. 2 away. Our Budweiser player of the game. Budweiser, the great American lager. Albert Pujols with his 4 RBIs, 2 home runs, a couple of walks, 2 runs scored. Great defensive play just about a half hour ago. Here's Span showing bunt, looks at a strike. Franklin comes in and he is pumping strikes.
That's why you like him so much. You know, he just throws strikes, usually just always ahead in the count.
Ground ball. This should do it. Over to first. Cardinals win it. 5-3. Save for Franklin. Big day for Albert. On a hot afternoon here at Busch Stadium, the Cardinals win it. 5-3 the final.